Greetings gastronauts, this is KeefCooks, I'm Keef, and today I'm going to do a French winter warmer proper comfort food. I'm going to make cassoulet. This was requested by Rick Atkins and I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. It's a long, slow cooked casserole basically, and cassoulet, it's hundreds of years old. It's proper peasant food. It comes from the south of France and there are three main types. There's the Toulouse variation, which uses mutton as its main meat. There's the Castelnaudary, which I can't say properly, variation, which is what I'm doing, which uses duck confit and pork, but I'll explain about the duck in a bit. And then there's the Carcassonne variation, which also uses poultry, and that would be goose or partridge, I guess. And of course, because it's a very, very traditional dish, but everybody's grandma makes it better than anybody else's grandma, and there is an academy of cassoulet, the cassoulet police. Can't get any duck legs, confit or not. Can't get any duck fat, but I'm not losing sleep over that. The whole point about this peasant dish is that it would be cheap. It would be cheap. You would have easy access to ducks or geese or whatever, you know, you just chase them around the village and catch one. But you know, those things are very expensive now to buy in England. So I'm going to use chicken legs, but I'm going to fry them off in a bit of duck fat that I found in the back of the fridge. And so that should give some ducky flavour. The other thing about this, I've been going on in the last couple of months about the cost of energy that you use in cooking, which goes up and up and up and up and up. So I'm going to try and reduce the energy used to cook it. The first stage basically is cooking the beans, and you would do that on the stovetop or in the oven. I'm doing it in a pressure cooker on the stovetop, which will reduce the time to cook the beans to about 1/3. And then to finish it off, traditionally you would stick it in the oven for about 6 hours, a low oven. So I'm not doing that. I'm going to try it in the slow cooker. And even if that takes 6 hours, then it's the slow cooker. It uses a lot less energy than the oven. Right, if you enjoy this video, give it a like, share, subscribe, etc. And let's get on with it. Cassoulet. Ingredients for the cassoulet. I've got 250 grams of white beans. I've got 2 full chicken legs. I've got 4 garlicky sausages. I've got some sliced belly pork, and I've got a litre of chicken stock. So these are cannellini beans and they've been soaking in salted water overnight. The chicken stock, it's best if you use stock that you've made yourself that sets into a kind of jelly when it's cold, but I didn't have time for that. So this is actually 2 stock cubes, but also I've added a sachet of gelatine, which will kind of make it a little bit jellyish, that might help things on a bit later on in the process. The sausage, authentically you'd use Toulouse sausages. Now, I've never seen those, so I've actually made these myself. And the main seasoning is nutmeg, salt, white pepper, and garlic. If you don't want to make your own sausages, and I don't blame you, you can use any kind of garlicky pork sausage, but not a smoky one, because that would overpower everything else. There's also some veggies to do later, but I want to get this started right now. I've drained the beans, I'll pop those into my pressure cooker and top them up with the chicken stock. And we'll bring that to the boil and then turn it down to a simmer and just keep it simmering till we're ready to put the meat in. Now I'm going to cut the chicken into thighs and drumsticks because they're a bit big, a bit daunting all on their own, and season them with black pepper. I won't put any salt in just yet. And I'll chop the belly pork into chunks. So get yourself a heavy bottom cast iron cooking thing, Dutch oven or something like that, whatever they are, and heat up some duck fat in it. And then we'll put the chunks of pork belly in to fat us side down and just leave it alone for about 5 minutes, and then we can start to turn it over and get it browned, seriously browned all over. I'm going to add some aromatics to the beans, and this will give more flavour to the stock, the liquid that it's cooking in. So I've got a stick of celery, a carrot, an onion, and I'm cutting those into real big chunks because we want to be able to fish them out later. They don't actually end up in the finished cassoulet. I've also got garlic, half a head or a whole head if you're mad on garlic, and 2 bay leaves. When the belly pork is browned all over, take it out and stick it in a bowl. And then put the chicken pieces in and get those nice and browned all over as well. Then remove those to a bowl and turn down the heat. I've got another onion which I've peeled and chopped, and I'll cook that gently for about 5 minutes. And then put the 4 sausages in and lightly brown those. Now I'll add the aromatics to the beans and then bring the pressure cooker up to pressure and cook them for about 20 minutes. Okay, time's up for the beans, and I've depressurised the pressure cooker, so let's open it up and see what we got. So I need to take out the aromatics and I'm going to transfer it to the slow cooker. Now I'll put the pork belly in and the sausages. And the onions and the fat and the burnt crunchy bits from the pan. And don't forget the chicken. And what you're aiming to get is a crust on the top, which is highly prized, but it's not beans, it's not meat, it's like fat and liquid. So I'm leaving the lid off so the liquid evaporates, and I'll top it up every half hour or so just to make sure we don't dry the thing out. Okay, it's the next day, and things went, well, didn't go to plan, basically. My idea that I could do it in the slow cooker in about 2 hours was absolute tosh. Nothing much happened in the way of crust formation. So I kept it going, and it still wasn't happening because, you know, it's not evaporating. So what I'm going to do is finish it off in the oven for about an hour. I'll put the oven on to about 150 Celsius. It's a fan oven, you can work it out. It's quite low. And I need to transfer all the stuff from here into there because this really, well, this will work better because it's wide and shallow, whereas, you know, this is tall and narrow. I've got the chicken bits there, I've got the sausages, I'm going to cut those into smaller chunks, and then I've got all of the pork and beans and the liquid. And doesn't that look appetising? Yes, Keefy. I do think it's odd that there's no actual vegetables in this. A sprinkling, I think, of breadcrumbs. I'll whack that in the oven and have a look at it after half an hour. Well, after 30 minutes, it was looking okay. I gave it a little gentle stir, just to make sure all the breadcrumbs have been kind of moistened by the liquid. And it's had another 30 minutes, and I'm going to take it out now. Ooh. Okay, it's kind of a little bit crusty, but I think we need to keep that going for another probably hour or two to get a proper thing, but I'm happy with that. Also, I'm really hungry. Okay, let's dish it out. It really is a bit beige, isn't it? I'm going to put some parsley on that. And now it's taste test time with me! Yeah! Alright, here we go. Oh wow. That bean puree, wow. That's so melty and oh, tasty. I mean, because of all the long cooking they have absorbed the flavour of the stock. The flavour of the stock is marvellous. So actually let's have some chicken. It's definitely cooked. It's not dry. It's delicious. A little bit of pork. That's melty as well. A little bit of sausage. That is actually the star of the show. It's fantastic. Okay, cassoulet. Absolutely wonderful. I love that. So, yeah, if you feel inclined, make it. And thanks for watching, and see you next time.